Aunt May and Dr. Octopus getting married? I guess on their honeymoon, Doc Ock will get real handsy. Roll the opener. Welcome to Kevin's commentary on comics. When last we met, Spider-Man was fighting Hammerhead in his brand spanking new Spider-Mobile, but he found out Aunt May could be in danger and headed to make sure she was okay. Unfortunately, he discovered his aunt was in the middle of getting married to one of his greatest enemies, Dr. Octopus. So let's see what happens in Amazing Spider-Man number 131, My Enemy? My Uncle? Written by Jerry Conway with art by Ross Andrew. This issue came out in April 1974, and you have to love this cover mainly for the ridiculous pun, "With this ring, I the web?" I love it. So we open this one with Spidey peeking in on the marriage proceedings of the aforementioned aunt and arch enemy. Spider-Man is trying to decide what he should do when Hammerhead comes crashing through the doors. He has his yellow-clad guys with him, and let's pause for a second here. Hammerhead kind of thinks he's a 40s style gangster with his clothes and his speech, but his henchmen are in what appears to be AIM knockoff yellow jumpsuits. That doesn't seem to fit, nor does some of the high-tech stuff he uses, which we'll get to later. So while Ock and Hammerhead are fighting, Spidey swings his way around the house, mainly worried about Aunt May and the truth that he needs to tell her about why Doc Ock wants to marry her. He encounters Dr. Octopus and for some reason forgets that Dr. Octopus has 6 arms and gets belted down into the snow. So Doc Ock then has a helicopter rise up out of the ground that he and Aunt May board. And I don't know where this helicopter came from. In the last issue, when Spidey heads to Westchester, I assumed it was at Aunt May's house or someplace that she was staying. I actually had to go back a few issues to figure this out. Apparently, she was at Doc Ock's house, being guarded by his men. I vaguely remember some storyline where he's courting her, I guess, and starts to protect her for some reason, but I really don't know what was going on there. Anyway, they take off, and of course, Hammerhead has a helicopter of his own on which Spidey catches a ride. Again, this is not really fitting with the 40s style gangster to have this pretty high-tech helicopter at the ready. So meanwhile, back at the Christmas party that Peter Parker left in the last issue, everyone seems to want MJ and Peter to get together, but it's no big deal to the original party gal, Mary Jane Watson. Of course, everyone is wondering what happened to Pete, but no one seems to remember that he went into a room in last issue, and don't forget, MJ saw him go in. Short-term memory crew here. Back on Hammerhead's copter, Hammerhead says he doesn't know what Aunt May inherited, but it must be big, or Dr. Octopus wouldn't have killed a lawyer who was about to tell Peter what it was. Now, this was back in issue number 120, when Spidey and the Hulk tangled, and a lawyer was supposed to give Peter important information about Aunt May's inheritance, but was shot before he could actually say anything. Now, apparently Spider-Man can hear them in the copter over the noise the copter is undoubtedly making and through what is probably reinforced steel of the hull of the helicopter. Do spiders have naturally good hearing and thus Peter has the proportional hearing of a spider too? They finally arrive at some Canadian island that houses this nuclear reactor. Immediately, Hammerhead has his copter set to ram the ground. A Hammerhead copter in more ways than one. Spidey manages to get off the copter before all the ramming happens. He takes out some of Ock's thugs and tries to get Aunt May, but Doc Ock gets to him first. They battle for a bit, but Spidey does overcome Dr. Octopus. He catches Aunt May as she starts to faint, and they make their getaway in a jet that Spidey found. I'm sure big, sophisticated jets are easy to fly, right? Meanwhile, back at the reactor, Ock has recovered, but so has Hammerhead, and he starts charging Dr. Octopus, but Ock tries to warn him about the nuclear reactor. Too late, and the entire island goes up in a mighty kaboom. Luckily, Spidey and Aunt May got far enough away from the blast. May wakes up briefly, but then faints again. She sure does do that a lot. At the party, which has winded down, Betty talks to MJ about Peter, but she says she doesn't want to love Peter and decides not to think about it at least for the night. And that wraps up this one. What is interesting about this is that we never actually find out what's in Aunt May's inheritance. All of these guys fighting for this, and we never find out what it was, at least not in this issue. So I'm Kevin, and that was my commentary, a classic battle between Doc Ock and Hammerhead, to be sure. Hey, remember last issue when all of this was the plan of the Jackal? Well, what happened to him? There's not a peep from him in this issue. I'm not even sure how this worked out to be in his plan. Surely the Jackal didn't get Dr. Octopus to marry Aunt May, or vice versa. So other than kind of putting the three players, Spidey, Hammerhead, and Doc Ock, near each other, I didn't really see much of a plan here. It's kind of confusing, but perhaps we'll find out what it was in future issues. Actually, I'm going to skip a couple issues coming up because I don't really think they impact the Jackal storyline. For example, like the next two issues feature the Molten Man, and they kind of felt like filler issues. And there's very little reference to what went on here, and no sign of the Jackal. So I'll probably pick things up next time with issue 134. Make sure you see that episode by clicking on the subscribe button. And like and share this video, and hey, do that great day thing, okay? I'll see ya.